welcome back to Mary Elizabeth Jones' Variety Hour.
Part 2.
Yes, part 2.
Now, that was, we did a long first half. It wasn't even a first half, it was more a long first 3 quarters.
Yeah.
We're on a roll, as they say.
Yeah.
Been watching a lot of TV lately? What's been good?
I've been watching YouTube and all that stuff.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, and then I've been watching parts of SNL, the old episodes.
The old episodes!
And then
with Chevy Chase?
Yeah.
Where he falls?
Yeah, I've been watching the ones with Kristen Wiig and...
Oh, those old ones. Those are ancient ones with Kristen Wiig.
Yeah.
Kristen Wiig is famous. She's now on Target commercials now.
Yeah.
And she plays the same part she played in the ads for Target, in the skits about Target. I have a friend who works at Target. You know, Kyle. And I said, don't ever go to Target wearing a red shirt and khaki pants because they'll think you work there.
And plus, she was Triangle Sally too.
What was that?
On Saturday Night Live.
Well, who's Triangle Sally? I mean, tell me about it.
Kristen Wiig was Triangle Sally.
And what does that do? What does she do there?
They did the skit called the Best of Soul Train DVD set.
Oh, yes, that's right.
But they call it the Worst of Soul Train.
The Worst of Soul Train.
And then
I used to watch Soul Train. Yeah.
I used to watch that 2 years ago.
Yeah. We'll get back, but tell me about. Didn't she used to do skits? I remember. Let me tell you about Kristen Wiig. Kristen Wiig was recently, after she retired, I think. Lorne Michaels, a longtime producer of Saturday Night Live, said that she is the greatest member ever of Saturday Night Live, and I tend to think so. She was so good. I mean, you have a lot of good people. Will Ferrell and Norm Macdonald and Dennis Miller and Dana Carvey and all those, and then Chevy Chase and John Belushi. But she said she's the best. She was the best.
Yeah.
And I remember she did a very funny skit with the Lawrence Welk show. Tell me about that.
She did the sister. She had sisters.
Yeah.
And then they were all being funny.
Yeah.
And Anne Hathaway was in it with her.
Yes.
She was like, I'm Janice, and then the other one goes, I'm Holly, and then the other one goes, I'm Nora, and then Kristen Wiig goes, and I'm Dooney.
And she was like really weird looking.
Yeah.
She had funny teeth and a funny hairstyle. And if I remember,
hands.
she had like a baby hand.
Yeah.
Like a baby doll.
That was funny.
That was she did it a few times. It's always at the beginning of the show before when they say live from New York.
Yeah.
They always did a spoof of. It was a spoof of public television. They used to run the Lawrence Welk show all the time, and so they were, they knew that a lot of people watching Saturday Night Live, even young people, had probably had to watch that with their parents or their grandparents or something.
Yeah.
And I used to have to watch it all the time. And actually, it wasn't too bad a show. And looking back on it, it's not that awful a show, the Lawrence Welk show. But I remember Fred Armisen was Lawrence Welk.
Yeah.
And when we were teenagers, we loved to imitate Lawrence Welk.
Yeah.
And now it's a time for. And we had this record album with Stan Freberg doing this skit of the Lawrence Welk show, and he does the voice like a Lawrence Welk, and then while he's doing the show, the bubble machine goes out of whack.
Yeah.
It just makes bubbles and bubbles and bubbles. It's all, and you don't see it. It's all on the record, on the phonograph, and then eventually, I think there's so many bubbles it takes the building and just sends it out into the sky. And maybe I can find it on the internet and put it in the comments. But wonderful one by Stan Freberg. But we were when we were, I don't know why we were so big on show business growing up and imitating, and we used to imitate a lot of these people from the 70s. And Lawrence Welk was a very easy guy to imitate. And now he famously said this. He goes, and now we're going to hear a medley of songs from World War II. You can tell he's reading cue cards.
Oh yeah, I remember that one, I think.
And I remember he had this big cast, and a lot of these people never really became famous other than being on the show. And he'd have all their families on for Christmas, and Santa Claus would come and give everyone gifts, and the kids would open it up, and there'd be like easy bake ovens and Tonka trains and Barbie dolls and Ken dolls and everything, and G.I. Joes, and every kid watching, including my sisters and I, said, "Boy, I wish I was there." Now, do you remember any of the cast? You remember the Lennon sisters, don't you?
Yeah, the Lennon sisters.
Yeah, that's basically what the Christian Wiig. And every week they'd have like Anne Hathaway, or they have Tina Fey, or Anna Gasteyer, or somebody be one of the sisters on there with Maya Rudolph. Yeah. And I mean, all the pretty girls on Saturday Night Live. And
I think Betty White was the mother.
And Betty White was the mother. Yeah, that was. I think that's the first time I saw it, was when Betty White was hosting it. That's the famous episode of Betty White that got all the acclaim. But that was a. I remember the Lennon sisters was really good. They were real pretty girls. And they actually made it on their own after that. They had a couple of TV shows and made appearances on TV shows, and they were all very pretty girls. You know what's sad about the Lennon sisters? They were victims of a stalker who went so crazy thinking that they were in love with him that he killed their father.
Wow.
And their name is Lennon, so like John Lennon, another guy that a stalker killed. The only two celebrities you could probably think of. Well, maybe Rebecca Schaefer is probably the other one, where a person was so obsessed with them they killed them, because if you can't have me, nobody can have that type of thing. And but two of them were named Lennon, and the Lennon sisters, or the Lennon sisters' father, and John Lennon, now of the Beatles. Now, but they were great, the Lennon sisters, and I remember, this black. There was like the only black guy on there, an African American tap dancer. His name was Arthur Duncan, who only just died like a year ago or so. These guys live forever. These dancers, they live like Fred Astaire and people like that, and they still keep in good shape. And he was the tap dancer on there. I found out recently, although he was on the Lawrence Welk show for so long, he was a who was it? It was someone famous was on it. Was it Dinah Shore? Wanted him on her show in the 1950s, and they said, "Well, we can't have black people on white people's TV shows."
Yeah.
And so she said, "Well, you cancel. If you're going to fire him, you might as well fire me, because I'm not going to go on without him." And then they relented and left him on, and he was great, Arthur Duncan.
Yeah.
Was also, but my favorite was that woman who played the player piano really fast.
Oh yeah.
Her name was Joanne Castle, and she just, I mean, this woman was like Jerry Lee Lewis, how she could play.
Oh yeah.
And of course I joke when I was working in an office, one of my last jobs in an office, I was a very fast typist, and I said I typed like Joanne Castle from the Lawrence Welk show. And luckily the people I was working with all remember her. Oh yeah, me and that woman on the Lawrence Welk show that played really fast. Yeah, that's me.
And I think they had a girl that was blind or something on there.
A blind girl, yeah. They had a lot of the singers were very good on there, and it was actually a very good show looking back on it, because we always made fun of it when we were kids because it was so kind of a square show. But the songs weren't very long; they were only about 2 minutes long. So by the time you got tired of it, another song was coming out. The orchestra, the band was pretty good. Had accordion music was the thing, polka music, and an orchestra behind it, which actually is a kind of cool sound when you think about it. You always try to find that new sound in a band, like a violin in a a violin or an accordion or something, a kazoo or something with an orchestra behind it, a harmonica. And this was accordion music. Myron Florin was, I think, the guy. And Lawrence Welk, you rarely saw him on other shows. He made a few appearances on talk shows, but not a whole lot. I don't think he had a lot to say. He wasn't really he let the music do the talking, and he had that a friend of mine had a joke about Lawrence Welk. He said he goes, this is the beginning of the Lawrence Welk show. It goes, the Lawrence Welk show. Shh. champagne music.
Yeah.
So this is the same. This is the same. This is when you rewind the tape. It goes, show Welk Lawrence Star. It's silly humor when you're in third grade. Lawrence and once. Oh, I want to hear something funny. There was I usually, my dad just loved the Lawrence Welk Show, and he was in. I wasn't really paying too much. I was in the next room like reading a magazine or something, and then I hear probably the greatest version I ever heard of the song "Cotton Fields Back Home." Oh, those cotton fields back home. You know that Creedence had a hit with, and I think Lead Belly.
Yeah.
Back in the 1930s, it popularized and stuff.
Yeah.
So I hear this. I said, "This is the best version I've ever heard of this song." And I go in there, and it was a guest appearance by Charlie Pride. And you rarely saw any black people on that show, except for the Arthur Duncan. So I said, "Oh, no wonder it's good. It's not even on the Lawrence Welk Show. It's a guest appearance." Charlie Pride. So yeah, that. And actually, the Lawrence Welk Show has not really gone away. I'll tell you why. A lot of those people are Joe Feeney and stuff. They appeared on. They would keep going on that show. They would keep going on that show without Lawrence Welk. After he did, they'd make appearances. The Lawrence Welk Show, the stars from the Lawrence Welk Show, and they'd come to your local, theater in town, and they did in Branson, Missouri. They had a big presence there. No more Lawrence Welk, but the people were still around. And I remember that then the popularity of other shows came around, like American Idol and The Voice and America's Got Talent and shows like that. And if you actually pay attention to those shows, the singers on those shows could put them in older clothes. They could have been on the Lawrence Welk Show. They're all kind of, earnest-looking, smiles on their faces. They and listen to the songs they sing. The songs they sing, a lot of Motown songs, a lot of Elvis songs from the 50s, a lot of like Connie Francis type songs, and say in the 1960s or 70s you were watching the Lawrence Welk Show, they were playing songs from the 30s. That was 40 years ago. I mean, on American Idol, you're hearing songs from the Motown from Elvis. That's 60, 70 years ago. So in a way, that's even going more nostalgic than the Lawrence Welk Show.
Yeah.
So do you remember John Lee Hooker?
Yes, I love him.
Yeah. Something you'd never hear on the Lawrence Welk Show. You might hear some of his songs. But John Lee Hooker was...
I actually have some of his work.
Some of his work.
Yeah.
John Lee Hooker is kind of, I've never seen him in concert, but he's in the Blues Brothers movie. He has a short part in the Blues. That's really the only thing I've really ever seen him in on a big way. But I have this album, and, he sings his songs really, and he do. Yeah. All guitar music. I once in New York, ran into John Lee Hooker. Oh. You won't believe this. I was at the Penn Station. Oh. And there was like a little area. If you've been to Penn Station, you know if you have a ticket, you could hang around in that area. Yeah. If you don't have a ticket, you can't hang around that area. Yeah. Because they don't want homeless and the hobos hanging around there. So what happened was he was there, and so I just walked up to him and said, "Mr. Hooker, great to meet you." And he shook my hand.
Oh, I would like to shake his hand.
And he looked exactly like he looked exactly like he had a nice suit, big hat, glasses, and everything. He once came to Richmond to perform at a place called Rockets, and what was weird was he sings these down and out songs about how being poor and he can't pay the rent and all that stuff. And then when it was over, he met. I wasn't there. He met some fans, and then he walked into. They said the fanciest limousine ever. Oh. Said for a guy who sings about being poor, he's gotten rich singing about being poor.
Yeah.
I don't know why he was on a train. He probably likes the train. A lot of these guys have fear of flying, and that was probably it.
Yeah.
He one funny story about John Lee Hooker was the Rolling Stones liked him a lot. And they had a 3D concert on television, I think on Fox or something. And you got these, and he came out to sing a song with them, and then I wasn't really paying attention to him singing with the Rolling Stones. Then at one point he starts dancing, and holding his hat and everything, and
Yeah.
he looked like he was 80 years old. He was younger than that, but he looked like he was 80 years old. And my sister just shakes her head and says, "Oh please, oh please." And I said, "Oh, look at the old man dancing," as if there was something wrong with an old man dancing. I'm an old man and I love to dance.
I love to dance too.
I know. So this is John Lee Hooker. The only song on here is a song called "The House Rent Boogie" that you might. And the only reason why you might have heard this song is because it was made into a George Thorogood song called "No One Bourbon, One Rice." What? One bourbon, one one bourbon, one scotch, and one beer.
Yeah.
And it's such a good song.
Yeah.
But the first part of that George Thorogood sings is the house rent boogie. I mean, in his own way, and then George Thorogood sings more.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bad to the bone. Yeah.
Bad to the
In fact, John Lee Hooker's the I guess the progenitor, the archetype for George Thorogood.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was like Elvis to George Thorogood.
Yeah.
I think we could make a big hit out of this guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
So welcome to May. It's
Yes.
a special month for you.
My birthday's this month.
All right.
At
We'll
the
have a
end of-
birthday show probably. Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll talk more about that when you when you turn 28. Anyway, thanks for having me here on
No
this
problem.
wonderful Saturday afternoon. It turned out to be a nice show. We have a different background than we usually do.
Yes.
So, yeah.
May God bless you. You take care. Bye. Thank you all for tuning in.